Hello, I'm Laurent. In the last hour, the world has got its first look inside the restored Notre Dame cathedral in Paris. President Emmanuel Macron is visiting the cathedral ahead of its official reopening next weekend, more than 5 years after it was devastated by fire. So these are live pictures coming to us from the inside of the cathedral. Let's bring in our correspondent Hugh Schofield, who's in Paris for us. And Hugh, it is a very different looking inside, isn't it?
It is. I mean, too often the experience of walking around a French, a European Gothic cathedral is one of grime and darkness. And up to a point that was true of Notre Dame before the fire. And it's not the experience now at all by all evidence. I had a glimpse in before a couple of hours ago, and now I'm seeing these pictures, which you're seeing too, and you can see that it's it's altogether a more luminous, brighter experience. One which may, we don't know, take us back to the beginnings of these medieval masterpieces 800 years ago. You have to remember, though, that when the cathedrals went up, they'll certainly have been cleaner and brighter, but they were also polychrome. I mean, the walls have been covered in painting and so on back in the pictures, depictions of Christ's life and so on back in the Middle Ages. So what we're seeing now, and what we expect from a cathedral, this lovely, bright, clean stone, which we now have in Notre Dame, is actually quite a modern invention from 200 or so years ago when they cleaned up all the walls. What had happened since then was that they'd got progressively dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, and now, because the opportunity of the fire has been seized by restorers, everything has been cleaned. 40,000 square meters of this honey-coloured blonde limestone of northern France has been cleaned up, and it's created what seems to be a wholly different experience. That uniting with the clean windows, the fact that in a lot of the side chapels, colour has been returned, because in the 19th century, Eugène Viollet-le-Duc, the architect who restored the cathedral then, painted a lot of in what was kind of faux medieval painting, but he put painting back in a lot of the side chapels that had been lost and covered in grime, but has been refound now with the cleanup. So this light and this colour and this new furniture as well, I think will has created a wonderful new experience, which means that people who go back now to the cathedral, even if they know it well, will find that it's a very, very new and uplifting moment.
And Hugh, while you were talking there, we just caught a glimpse of the stained glass windows, and I understand that those were actually some of the elements that they managed to save.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, much of the cathedral was saved. I mean, it nearly fell down, but in the end it didn't, and much of it was saved. I mean, the windows were all saved. The big rose windows, the famous rose windows, were untouched, and all the other stained glass windows were fine. But the opportunity was taken to remove them, take them down, take them to workshops all over France, and they were cleaned up and have been returned. So yeah, I mean that's very much part of this. Other things that were saved were the sculptures inside the cathedral. Some very famous sculptures like the Virgin of the Pillar, which regarded by the clergy today as kind of miraculous rescued items, because they very nearly were crushed by falling masonry, but they weren't. That's all back in place, cleaned up. The choir and the enclosure around the choir, which was a high point of any visit to the cathedral, is there untouched and improved now, because the opportunity has been taken to clean it up, touch up the paintwork, do minor repairs which needed doing anyway. So all of these elements, the paintings as well, which were all dark and impossible to make out. And there are these big paintings down the sides of the cathedral called the Maze, which were the gifts from the goldsmiths of Paris to the cathedral in the 17th and 18th centuries. They've been restored, brightened up. They're visible now. You can actually see what they contain, these pictures. So all of this is part of the new experience. And as you said, most of what is in there is what was in there before. What's new is the liturgical furniture. That is we've seen it there, the bronze altar. The altar was crushed. A lot of the lectern was crushed. The cathedra, which is the sort of Archbishop's seat, was destroyed. So all that has had to be recreated, along with the furniture from the where the stalls where the congregation sit. That is all new and modern, and so does give this imprint of modernity to the place. But there was, as you were saying, a big argument about whether or not there should have been some kind of touch of today about the cathedral, and arguably Macron was among those who were saying that we should, and his critics would say that's typical Macron. He wanted to, be part of the story. The only sort of controversial element in all of this that remains, because basically it was decided that they would be faithful to the original, is that the decision was taken to replace some of the stained glass windows with modern windows in some of the side chapels. That is going ahead. It hasn't happened yet because it hasn't been decided who's going to be the designer of those windows. But as things stand, Macron's wish to have this one modern piece of art there is going to go ahead.
Hugh Schofield, for the time being, thank you very much as we admire those pictures of the interior of Notre Dame that's been restored after the fire. Thanks, Hugh.